Hey, welcome back to Cards and Comics, guys. Sorry, I had a little bit of a problem with that first live stream. I don't do this very often. So yeah, we are live. I know no one's on yet, but you know, it's part of the challenge of being live. But yeah, I'm a little early. I thought I'd start. I know I said 11, 10:30ish to 11, but here I am. Yeah, so today I'm going to be going through a PSA sub reveal, um, and just interesting. I want to talk about the PSA sub because um, PSA is in a really interesting spot right now. Grading is an interesting spot right now. Talked about kind of like the grading wars that are going on right now, and yeah, just in general, how's everybody doing? Very happy. You know, Currently, what's going on with the hobby. It seems like things are kind of returning back to normal. Cost wise, things are um, kind of coming back to more normal prices, more normal, um, hobby activity. So that's good. Again, this live streams, I've got my sub back from PSA. We'll talk about it. And again, it was the July special, so I couldn't really submit anything that was super expensive because I got caught. Once I got caught, I don't know if that's the real term for it, but I got hit with a lot of fees on my last sub I did with PSA, where they upcharged me like I want to say it was like an extra $400 to grade like 6 cards. It was pretty rank because I was already paying $600. I think back when it was like $100 a card, and then they upcharged me another 400. So like $1,000 to grade 6 cards. I mean, and they were really cool cards. I mean, they were somewhat expensive, but with prices going down and everything like that, they're not worth near what I had or I was told or what PSA said the cards were worth. So yeah, pretty happy. I know. One of the things I will say today is, um, you know, um, my I consider him a friend. He's a hobby friend for sure. Sports Card Dad did a shout out on my channel today, where he was talking about my video I did earlier this week, where I talked about collectors and how you got we talked about bad behavior in the hobby. We talk about flippers and trimmers and dealers and all these players, but collectors can play their part in hobby shenanigans for sure. And the hobby shenanigans that happen sometimes, collectors do drive some of that. I know he had he was talking about because I said in the video, sometimes you treat collectors like they're kind of untouchable. Because my personal experience, I've been in this hobby a long time. Again, I started in '86. I started actually grading cards around right when I graduated college in around 97, 98. And then, um, you know, been around a lot of dealers and I've just seen things where I'm like, sometimes collectors, hey, the Alchemist, how are you? I've just seen things in the hobby that's just from a collector's perspective. Like I've seen collectors do some really crazy things, where they're not very nice to each other sometimes, undercut each other. Again, and a lot of it was due to set registry. The set registry was great, good, and bad at the same time. There was a lot of odd things with set registry back in the day. Um, it made me do some weird stuff. Like I became very aware of pop counts. I became very aware of the low print cards that were in sets. Like I collected 61 Pirate Team set. So I became very aware that Joe Gibbon and the Pirate Team card were really low printed in PSA 8 or above. So it makes you do little weird things like that, and so it was odd. Now, so I'll start out with, I was hoping to get some more folks on to talk about the contest. I know a lot of people, gave good answers and good, definitely were, trying hard to guess. what the answer is for the first question. So for people, and again, this is for, I'll repeat it a few times today. Um, you know, the original contest, hasn't been won yet. Nobody's guessed the answer yet. So tonight I'm going to give clue number 2. And again, the prizes are a 83 tops wax pack and your choice, or a Topps Chrome Aaron Judge rookie card. And I think I have them laying around right here. I've been picking up a lot of cards, and I know I had them laying out, and I was hoping I didn't just put them up somewhere where I got to find them again. Oh, they're right here. So I didn't just. Oh, Gorgoroth is a good answer. Is a good answer. It's not correct. I'm going to give a second clue here in a minute, and I think the second clue is going to get it for you guys. So get your Google searches going, ready to go. Because when I get the second clue, it should give someone the answer, because the clue will narrow it down a lot. And I don't want to drag this thing out forever. Hey, DC Irish, glad you're here, man. I'm really glad you're here. You've been a big fan of the channel. Thank you. So the question, sorry for folks who just started. The original question was, my logo, the Cards and Comic logo that you see on my channel, is based on a metal band's logo and font. So, basically it's the font of the logo. In fact, you can see I'm wearing this hat because some of the, pointiness of the logo is part of my logo, right? That's some of the, key tells of the logo, the pointiness of the arrows and stuff like that. And so I really like this band. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. One of my best friends in college was a bass player. Her name was Heather. She was it's kind of giving a little bit insight of the clue. But the first question or the question was, what band was my logo based on? The first clue was it's a death metal band. So the second clue I'm going to talk about tonight, and again, I'll show you the prizes so everyone knows it's a Aaron Judge rookie card. It's a PSA 9 or a wax pack from 83 Tops. And it's special wax pack because it's the Michigan test pack. So it's the cool test pack that's all in the plastic wrap. So I think they're both really cool cards, cool prizes. So the second clue is the band from Inception. Their bass player was a female. So first clue, death metal band. Second clue, the bass player is a female. It wasn't the Grateful Dead. Good guess. Now the rules of the contest are you get one guess per video. Now if that was like in jest, I'm not going to hold that against you. But it's a death metal band, and the bass player is a female, and she's been in the band since the band started. So she's a founding member of the band. So death metal band with a female bass player. So hopefully people can get it from that, because I think should narrow it down quite a bit. So look at the logo, look at the font, look at my logo, and I think you guys can get it on this one. If not, and I'll give you an even better clue this week, because I'm going to go live again probably on Friday. Because I like the live streams. I usually keep them to an hour, and I like talking to people about collecting in the hobby. And again, you just get one guess per video, per live stream video. So you have to guess it in the comment section of the live stream or after it's been played. So that's when you have to leave your comments, and you have to be a subscriber of the channel to win. So it's not a lot of rules, just subscribe, and you unsubscribe if you want to after you win. I'm not going to hold it against you guys. I mean, I'm just here for, again, I don't want to be like, I'm just the collector guy, look, I made videos about being a collector, being a dealer, doing all kinds of stuff in the hobby. You got to do it all. Flippin' Steve's right. I watched his video today. He's 100% right. You do it all. I think if I said it by accident, then you guys can guess it. I mean, first one to say it wins. But yeah, I hope I didn't say it by accident, but if I did, my bad. Not Death Crow. It is not Death Crow. So yeah, Flippin' Steve is right though. Like, the hobby is very big. You can be a dealer, you can be No, it is not Inception. These are all good guesses, guys. Good guesses. Um, so yeah, you know, and the hobby, itself has a lot of, um, has a lot of great opportunity for people to just have fun. Um, okay. Um, let's see. Dehydrated. Right. I've actually never heard of that band, but if it's a cool band, I'll check them out. One of the things like, I do in my channel a lot is I do play music at the end of videos. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. Um, I try to play either ironic music at the end of videos. Um, um, or I try to like play music from bands I like. Um, Now I've actually never played music from this band because I just don't know if death metal really fits in with cards, but I've done some funny things. Like I did a video where I talked about the stages of grief for the sports card hobby or the market, when it was going back down. Um, so like, and so I use the band Grief as the opening music. So that's funny to me. I'm sure no one caught that. But that was just kind of funny for me because bands like Grief. I grew up in the '90s, so like a lot of the '90s bands were where I was really at. And I said, me and Flipping Steve, I met him at the National. Cool dude. He's really into music too. We don't have the same musical taste. I like a lot of bands he likes. So like it's just cool that you can do different things. I play guitar. I've been in bands. Um, I do play music on my channel sometimes. You may have caught that on a few videos. Um, I'm not saying I play good. I'm just saying I play for fun. Um, I'm not a professional musician. All the bands I've ever been in have been like just garage bands where we just get some folks together and drink beer and eat pizza and play cover songs and have fun. But so again, second clue, first clue, death metal band. Second clue, female bass player. She's been in the band since the beginning. On records, no, Maximus. I don't collect records too much, and I can't really change the angle of my camera too much because I do have records from the band that hanging on my wall right over here. If I change my angle a little bit, you would see the actual band I'm talking about because I actually have some of their records here. Now, one of my favorite bands that right now, like my favorite band right now is King Buffalo from Rochester, New York. I use their music like a lot in my videos, and in fact, my first time I got a video hit for a copyright thing was I used one of their songs, without permission and all that. So I learned about that pretty quick. But King Buffalo is my favorite band right now. I was Clutch before that in terms of just bands I can go see, watch, and play live. I have a lot of bands I love. Hey, Dwayne, how's it going, man? I have a lot of bands I like, but I love to be able to watch live music. And every year I would see Clutch play. So I've seen Clutch like 20 something times. But King Buffalo is like right now my favorite band. Just because they're kind of a cross between Pink Floyd and some hard rock. So I'll get into the PSA reveal. So I'll just talk about it for a little bit. And this is my PSA sub from July. So I sent in 2 subs. The first one was so 2 of them. One of them, obviously, if you remember that thing. Hey, Leverone, how are you? Awesome that you're here. That's great. If you look at the so that there was a date restriction, so you had to either submit cards from like 95 or earlier or 95 and prior. So this is I guess my modern sub came back yesterday, and it's full of King Griffey Jr. cards. So King Griffey Jr. is talked about. My last video being a collector. I guess I've announced myself as a King Griffey Jr. collector after so many years of collecting. So I've got, I think, over half the cards in this sub are King Griffey Jr. cards. Some cards have been in my collection for a long time. Some of them were just cards I pulled recently. So we'll start here with the first card. And I pulled this in a live on one of my box breaks. So this is a Frank Thomas 98 finest refractor with coating. And for folks who go back in my videos, I do a box. I open a box and I pulled this card out of a box. And so it just shows you, like right out of the box, I got an 8. And the reason why it's an 8 is because of that coating peels and bubbles. And so these refractors from the 90s with coatings generally don't grade great. And so I do think a premium for the cards with the coating, the peel on them in a 10 is kind of valid. I do think that's a valid thing to say is should be worth a little bit more, because that coating peels and bubbles and pulls up, and then PSA will hammer you, give you a 5 or 6. In some cases, I've seen cards get 6s before because of that peel. The question I have for you guys is in the chat is, if you peel the card, do you feel like that card should be left in its original state? Because a lot of times when you peel it, yeah, the you get a better grade because you don't get you get rid of some of that bubbling. But it's my PC, yes. So I tried to peel a few cards recently, and I damaged the card because you get these things are almost 30 years old now, and the peel sometimes has stuck to the card so much you can't really get it off without scratching or damaging the card. It's another thing too. So I just talked about with peel is harder to grade, but removing the peel is hard now too. The mystery finest refractors, if you get them in a box, I've never been able to get a mystery finest peel off of a card today without damaging it. I I I think there's 2 videos of mine where I got mystery finest refractors, and I peeled I pulled the card in half trying to get that peel off. It's impossible, I think, to get those peels off unless the card's already started to peel on its own. It's just impossible to find any purchase. They really didn't design those cards really well. Like, they didn't give you a lip or some sort of like pre-start to that peel to get it off. It's almost impossible to get that thing off. Um, so next card. So I apologize for folks who are just sports card collectors. I do have some Marvel and DC cards I'm going to go through because they're just part of the sub. The first one up is 2018 Batman Dark Victory. So this is from the Batman Archive set, and this is the cover for the Dark Victory, comic series. I feel these cards are really cool. They have a matte finish and a raised surface. This is the Batman that came back at PSA 9, which I think is for a card like that. They're actually hard to keep in good condition. And then I got the Poison Ivy as well. And for people wondering, like, I do collect DC cards. I do a lot of DC box breaks on my channel. My favorite characters are Zatanna, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. So those in Death. So I'm a huge Death fan. The villain set is amazing. Yeah, amazing. This Poison Ivy card is just amazing because when you actually get this card in person and feel it, all that is like raised surface. It's not just like a flat finish. It's like etched. It's really cool looking card. I'd encourage. They're super cheap, guys. If you really like that card, you can get them, and they're pretty cheap. The Joker is really cool too. I've got the full set, and I just sent 2 cards in to test grade them. In my other PSA sub, I have the 93 Topps cards and the original DC set with the Death card, the first Death card in it. So I have like 7 DC cards in that order. They're all vintage. So it's like 21 cards, 14 vintage cards, and 7 DC cards. But I have the first Harley Quinn cards in that sub as well. So I'm really excited about the Death cards because I pulled the Death. Hey Ziggy, awesome man, glad to see you. I pulled the Death refractor or hologram, and I have it sitting here. I may send that in as well too. So I have a lot of DC cards I really want to get graded, and some really cool sketches. So we got an 8 on the Riddler being answered. Yeah, DC Villains is a great set. The a card I had, I'm really regret I got rid of, was I had so they have the Noir out of the DC Villains set, the Noir cards, the gold foil. Number 25, I had the Harley Quinn Noir gold foil, and that thing was just amazing card, and I got rid of it. I sold it. Some guy offered me a lot of money for it, and I sold it, and I really wish I had it back because I've never seen those cards ever again. Next up is a card that I'm just shocked it got the grade it got, honestly, because this card is really hard to grade. It was a throw-in. It was the last card I threw into this order because I just figured it's come back at 8 or a 9 because these cards are so hard to grade, and it came back at 10, and it's the 96 Marvel Masterpiece Spider-Man PSA 10. And I believe there's only I looked it up. Gosh darn, I should have wrote it down. I believe there's only like 8 or 10 of these 10s in existence, so it's a pretty tough 10. So and it's a Marvel, it's a Spider-Man, it's a really cool card. I'm really shocked this came back at 10. Not because I don't think the card's worth it. It's just anyone who's graded PSA knows that they kind of protect some of these cards like this because they know these are big cards and that this Spider-Man, is the key card from the set. So I'm really happy because again, I got this raw on eBay. I threw it into the order just to fill it out because what happened was I did send in 21 cards because you had to do 20 cards to get the special. I sent this card in, which is a Malik Akar sketch card, and they wouldn't grade it. And I didn't know if they would or not, so I threw an extra card in just so I didn't lose out on the 20 card minimum. This was card number 20, and I got a 10 on it. So pretty happy I got that 10 on that card. And again, I do collect Spider-Man in the Marvel side. That's from a comic book standpoint. Behind me, you see all my Alex Schomburg books, but my only other true collection besides Death is Spider-Man. And I've started Zatanna and some other small collections, but I do love Spider-Man, and that was my first thing. And when I got back into comic books and right around the Civil War time period of Marvel, I just collected Spider-Man for the most part. So again, second clue for people who just joining for the contest. You have to guess. You get one guess per video for live stream. For my contest, it's an 83 Topps wax pack or a Topps Chrome Aaron Judge rookie card, and it's my logo for my Cards and Comics channel. Whoever can guess the bands that I base my logo off of. So there's a band and their logo. I use it as a basis to create my logo. The first two clues, it's a death metal band, and they have a female bass player. I think if you Google enough, you might be able to find it. Next up is Moonstar. So Moonstar is a Native American character, and I do have a Native American collection. I collect Chief Bender. And so in comic books, I've started collecting Golden Age Native American covers. And then I'm like, well, I might as well collect, like some of the modern as well, just to have something to collect them for fun. So this is a Jambalaya from the 2018 X-Men set. And Moonstar is a Native American. She goes by like 20 other names. So it's kind of hard to Danny Moonstar. She has a lot of other names as well, but it's a Native American character. And, so I grabbed that one and threw it in the pile as well. Got a 9, which is the Jambalayas are tough to grade. Next up is, I think my last Marvel card is the Wolverine from 2017 for Ultra Spider-Man. It's the Bronze Wolverine. And, these are really refractory nice cards. This is numbered out of 199. Again, I couldn't submit like blues or reds because I was afraid I'd get upcharged. So I sent the bronze in because it's not worth it. It's like maybe $150, $200. So I got a 7 on it, which is, I think, I was hoping for an 8. So you can see the numbering there. I was a little disappointed in that one. I just, I would like to get 8s on these kind of cards. So I think the 7, even though these cards are tough because they're thicker, you can see that holder. They're tough to grade, so I'm not overly disappointed, and I did worse in this order. So you're going to see some big grading mistakes for me in this order. And I'm not a professional grader. Don't ask me to grade your cards because I don't do a great job, but I did get 7 10s in this order. So out of 20 cards. So I feel like that's a pretty good ratio for me. For some of the cards I submitted are kind of tough. This card's a 10, and it is the Jay-Z Topps Chrome. I got this in a trade at a show, and at one time this is like a $250 card and a 10. I just threw it in because it looked nice, and I think it's still like 150 to 175. So again, for $18 grading fee, I got this in a trade, so I have virtually no money into it. So I went ahead and submitted it, and it came back at 10. So that's a gamble that paid off. The Jay-Z, Topps Chrome. Again, it's not a super expensive card, but inventory, like again, I do set up at shows. I do trades. So I like to have inventory when I go to shows. Like, you build up 10 or 15 $100, $200 cards, and you can maybe flip that into something, a big, maze card or a Aaron card I need for my those sets. So that's something that I always look for. Next, yeah, the Jay-Z rookie. Yeah, I hope I didn't say that. I could be. I feel like those things are kind of funny, like all these different, pop culture cards inside of sets. Next up is a big oops. So there's a 4. So take a screenshot of me being an idiot here. I submitted this card. I have about 5 of these cards. I thought I pulled the best one of the 5, and I got a 4. And now for people, these cards are like layered. So there's like, one layer of the foil, one layer of the acetate. I think what happened here is in one of the layers, it cracked or creased, and they forward me. I haven't found it yet, but I'm sure it's there. And I'm sure it probably blends into the card a little bit. Actually, yeah, I see it right now. I see it just looking at it. It's right here. And it's right there where my finger is. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got like the foil is up. It's hard to see on camera, but yeah, it's there. I should have seen it. It blends in a little bit with the picture. Yeah, I got a 4. There you go. Oh my God, Brendan O'Malley, you got it right. It's bolt thrower. All right. Hey, so I'm gonna post my email, and you can email me um, your information, and tell me either in the chat or through email which card do you want the um, which one you want. Do you want the 83 Tops wax pack or the Aaron Judge? Just let me know. And very cool. That is right. It is bolt thrower. Bolt thrower. Some just trivia on bolt thrower. Bolt thrower is their covers were based on Warhammer, so they used the same cover artist for their first couple albums as Games Workshop. So if you look at the original covers, they have all this cool like Warhammer art. Joe Bench is the bass player, and Joe Bench is an amazing player. And I don't want to, she's really attractive. So as a kid, a metal band with a female, I mean, she is really a good player, and she's really attractive. So as a kid, that drew me in pretty heavy into that band. They're a really good band, and so um, yeah, the gold lettering is a giveaway, and the arrows. I mean, it's definitely they didn't do the like I was wanting them to do more of the raised surface. If you look at the bolt thrower logo, it looks like almost like curved or raised lettering. My logo doesn't have that as much, so that may have thrown some people off. Um, but yeah, it's the pointy letters and some of the kind of that old English style lettering. But bolt throwers, well, when I had the graphic designer, I said, I gave her like 7 different uh, bolt thrower covers to look at for font. And that's sort of where I, had her base it off of. So awesome, man. Like, yeah, email me or tell me which one you want. It's great. You can, and then, so then, if you want to look at, um, you know, so whatever one you don't pick, I'm going to use for the next contest. And I'll in my next Friday, in this Friday's video, I'll announce the next contest, and it'll be based on something on my channel. It'll be like, like what was my, first set I ever collected, or, something like that. Like things I have in my video. So I'm not going to make it too hard. This is probably going to be the hardest one, just because I wanted it to be kind of fun and have people kind of Google the band. And again, it's a band I love. And they're no longer together. Just as a closing the loop thing. their drummer died, and so they broke up. And so kind of sad. I never got to see them live. I actually was going to see them live, and I moved to New York the month that I was going to go see them live. So I couldn't go see them and then their drummer died, and I never got a chance. Same thing happened to me with Morphine. I had concert tickets to Morphine and Soul Coughing. They were going to play U.S. and then Mark Sandman died in Germany, literally 2 months before they were to come to U.S. and play, and never got to see them live either. And never got to see Soul Coughing either. So I that's happened to me a little bit, where I miss bands. Oh, awesome, man! I'm near Saratoga Springs, so I'm like a couple of hours away from you, but still New York. I go to the city. My job takes me to the city sometimes. I do meet with a lot of folks in the city. I take the train. I go from Albany into New York City in the train. Um, it's a fun trip for me. So yeah, man, awesome. I love the fact that someone won. So, printing plate equipments for comics. That's a good question, Dr. They do some weird stuff. They do ash cans. They do, but numbered or 101 comic books are just not common. They don't do these kind of like you might get original artwork, and that's all 101. But yeah, they don't do these kind of really short printed comic books that often. I know when they did like the whole Spawn, McFarlane, King Spawn, where he signed it and numbered it, everyone was like, "Ooh, 2,500." I'm like, in the sports card world, that's like 2,500. That's like it's like a '90s insert, like 2,500. That's not rare. And everyone's like, "Yeah, it's really rare in comic books." So comic books haven't got there yet. They still don't. They still think like 2,500 is really rare and numbering. I think sports card people are like, it's not really rare. So I'm going to start my Griffey side of it. So it's going to be a little all over the place. So hopefully Dwayne's still here. So first up, this is Stadium Club Royal Count. So this is a 7. Really foily, shiny card. And again, I have about, I'm going to say I have probably like 75 to 100 raw Griffey cards I haven't graded. And some of them are pretty rare. And I'm going to do a video pretty soon about some of my raw cards I haven't got graded. I'm just going to run through them real quick for you guys. Like, here is a Crusade Griffey. Here is, Soul of the Game Griffey. Here's another, Refractor Griffey. Another 2000. So you look at them like, just, refractors and Crusades and, I've got tons of short prints, that I need to get graded. So I'm going to have to do another order. I couldn't do it this order because they had severe restrictions on the price point. Yeah, the Crusade. I mean, I got to get that graded. I just haven't had time. I don't want to have too many orders in with PSA. I'm not going to tie up thousands of cards with PSA anymore. I'm going to, I have both mother loads, Maximus. I actually had 2 copies of the second year mother load. I want to say 98, the really cool die cut pointy one, and I sold one recently, so I have 1 copy of that. It's raw. So again, I have all these raw cards I've never gotten graded, so I'm starting to grade some of them. So this is cool. I do have a couple Griffies in the other order. They're both refractors. So next up is a refractor. Some refractors that aren't very popular. They're from 1999 Finest. These are the milestone refractors, and I pulled this one from a box break on my channel. So for people who want to check that one out, it's numbered out of 500. So it came back a 9. So this is the high point. It's going to get worse from here. That's a 9. So again, the milestones are numbered out of different, like the hits are numbered to 3,000. The home runs are numbered to 500. So next up is milestone hits. So this is numbered to 3,000, sorry. And I got an 8. So yeah, generally with the coding on, not too bad. So I got an 8 on that card, and you can see numbered to 3,000. So milestones, refractor. A lot of people just don't think these are attractive. And I do agree that brownish background or whatever they were going for there is pretty flat and kind of unattractive. So, and then, obviously I didn't look at the cards that well, but the doubles, I still have 3 of these, and then the doubles got a 6. And it's because at the top you can see, you can almost see it right there at the very top. You see that little curl of the, it's right here, pointing at right there. You can see it curling down, where the peel has started to come back, and it could be the card damage. It could be just be the peel, but PSA gave it a 6, so it's probably damaged. I didn't see that. Obviously, I should have. But it came back a 6. But I got 1-9, 1-8, 1-6. So out of the 3, so not great. But the 1-9 is on one of the ones numbered to 500. So that, to me, that's still pretty cool. And then my last big grading mistake was here. Now I submitted 2 of these cards. So I had 2 of these cards, submitted both. And this is the old grading trick where you would send in multiple copies of the same card, hoping that one of them would get a 10. And so, like, I had dealers tell me, send in a 6 and then send him your one that you think is a 10. And then the grader will go, oh, this one's terrible. Oh, this one looks so much nicer. I'll give it a 10. I don't know if that ever really works. That was something dealers would tell me sometimes. So here is 96, sorry, 96 finest gold, not the refractor, just the gold card. PSA 6, so disappointing. It's got a big crease in the back, or dent in the top. Sorry, not crease. It's got a dent in the back, so got a 6. But the second one got a 9. So, so I did get a 9. So I was happy with 1-9. Yeah, SPX autograph is super nice. The chirography autographs are one of my favorite autographs. And I don't know if you saw my channel recently, I picked up the other retro Griffey auto. So I've got both retro Griffey autos now, which are, to me, some of my favorite looking autos of Griffey of the 90s. So here is the 96 finest gold. So this is a 9. So it's a good card. It's a nice card, and I feel like the design of that card is nice. I actually have this as a refractor as well. So next up is another cool insert. Now this is, this isn't the super rare one. The 0, the row 0 is the rare one, but this is row 1. Flair Showcase. It came back in 8. And to me, it is just a push. I'm like, this is I kind of expected an 8. 8 or 9 is what I was expecting for a lot of these cards. So it came back in 8, a little lower than I was expecting, but it's a nice card. These aren't numbered row 1s, but they have a really cool shiny finish to them, and they look really nice. Yeah, me too. The 96 Finest Refractor is a great card. I don't have the 97. I don't have the gold embossed refractor. I have the gold embossed. I don't have the gold embossed refractor. I on my channel, I did pull a gold embossed refractor, I believe. I think it was Jeff Bagwell on the channel. I think if you go back and look, I'm pretty sure I pulled one on my channel. And I think that might be I think my next contest will be, yeah, if that was a row 0, that'd be insane. Will be about some of the pulls I've had on my channel. I've had one really cool pull on my channel. I actually have a tattoo, but one that I probably make it a contest question, guys. It should be easy to look through my videos to see what it is, because I reference it in a few other videos. Now, here's one of the cool 10s. So this is the Topps Gallery from 97. So this is the Gallery of Heroes. So these are the ones that look like stained glass cards. They're acetate. You can see through them. And this is a 10. And I know that they're that, plastic card, and they're pretty, a lot of people say they're easy to grade, but they have black borders. And I've seen a lot of them have kind of whiting and chipping. So the pop count on this isn't super high. I'm trying to get out the glare here. But to me, it is a cool card. And, it's hard using this kind of a camera to show you the card, but without glare, but there it is. PSA 10. So to me, this is definitely one of the highlights of the sub, was this card. Because again, I don't own this card in a graded version. So I'm really happy that card came back at 10. So the rest of these cards are 10. So we're into the into the good part of the of the break here. Next one is, I just think it's a cool card. I wish I had. I think there's a Jordan version of this card too. Soul of the Game, PSA 10. A lot of people like Soul of the Game cards. I'm trying to get again out of the glare for people, um, but it's a 10, and I feel like the Soul of the Game card is just a cool looking card, man. Um, I really think, with that rainbow foil finish, and again, it's not a super low print, but it's kind of a cool set. Skybox Premium, you don't see very much of it opened anymore. And again, the rubies I think came out of Skybox Premium, so it's a cool set, cool card. And I know like it trades a lot, in the Griffey world. Like you see this card come up a lot in terms of just people like it and it's worth some good money. It's like a $150-$200 card, but it's definitely a card that people like. So it's pretty liquid in the Griffey world. Same way for the Gallery Heroes card. The Gallery Heroes card is a little more expensive than the Soul of the Game. So next up is actually, when I looked at the pricing, it's actually, I think, the most expensive card that I got in the whole order, which is interesting. But it's the 97 Finest Gold Refractor with coating PSA 10. It's a very low pop. I want to say this was like 6 to 8 on this pop count for this one. Very low pop count. Last one sold. I would say when I looked it up, it was like around $400 for this one, 400 to 500. So this was one that I could have got hit with the upcharge. I didn't get hit. But this one is definitely one I truly glad I got, because again, with that coating on there, I didn't think it was going to get a 10, just because coating cards just don't grade well. And so like I was like, okay, it's going to be a 9, maybe an 8, and it got a 10. It's a low pop, and you can see just how cool that refractor is. And again, these have that refractor back, and I just feel like when you get the refractor back with that refractor front, it's just so much cooler. I wish they would do that again. I don't know. Did Panini ever make Prism cards where both sides had the Prism finish? Because to me, like, that was cool about, cards from this time period, was having, both sides having that refractor finish. You can kind of see that Griffey. I know a lot of people like the 96 a little better from that standpoint. But I do think this is a great card, and it's a low pop. Again, with that coating on there, it makes it a lot harder. So that was one that I was super shocked about, because it's just one you don't see very often. Next up was one that I kind of, when I looked at it, I thought it had a chance to grade high, and it's an acetate card, and they do grade a little easier, but it's the Home Run Kings PSA 10 from 97 Ultra, and it's just a really cool card. You can see the back has actual writing where the Griffey logo or the body is. So there you go, Home Run King Griffey PSA 10. Again, not a super rare card, but in the Griffey universe, it's like the $150-$200 card again. So it fits perfectly into the sub in terms of what it should have been from a value if it got the grade I was hoping for. So I'm not trying to cheat the PSA algorithm and grade $1,000 cards for $18, but this is a good example of using that $18 to get a card now worth a couple $100. And it's just a nice looking card. I mean, it's super cool. It's again, the thing I love about 90s inserts, and I've said it in a few videos, is that think about a card like this. This is like a not a rare insert. How much effort they put into this insert. It's acetate. It's got sparkly foil. It's got a lot of cool things about it. And it wasn't the case hit. It wasn't like same way for the Soul of the Game. This is like a 1 in 8 or something like insert, but tons of effort put into that card. Today they would never do stuff like that. It's just like, I look at a lot of inserts today, and it's like foil and maybe a die cut. Not a lot of effort put into it. And then last but not least is a card that I know a lot of people love in the Griffey universe. I think it's a cool card. It's probably not as hard to grade just because it's acetate again, but we've got the Hard Hats PSA 10. And again, I think it's a card that a lot of Griffey collectors just like having. It's a cool die cut, man. It's again cool die cut. It's a die cut that makes sense. It's shaped like a helmet, so it's not just a weird, crazy die cut with no real rhyme or reason. And it's just good design. Like very eye appeal. They got foil on the card. Just a lot of good design work here. And it's numbered on the back out of 5,000. So not tremendously rare, but tens are, worth a little bit of money. Again, in that 100 to probably 150 time, price range. So yeah, that's the order. So you can see I got 5 Griffey 10s in that order, 7 overall out of 20 cards. I made some mistakes. You saw some 6s and a 4. But it was fun, and again, for $18, I can stomach the 6s and 4s when I'm paying $100 a card, $30 a card, whatever it is. I can't stomach that, as much. So, I was a little more lenient on what I submitted because it was $18. Same way in the old days with bulk subs, you just throw cards in there. Just maybe it gets a 9, maybe it's you don't spend hours looking at cards back in the day. Today you have to do that. I mean, pricing upgrading is so expensive for some stuff. You just can't willy-nilly send cards in without making sure what they are. Yeah, I agree, Dwayne. The 90s, they put a lot of effort into those cards. I mean, you look at that refractor, that bronze refractor, double-sided refractor with a coating. Can you imagine them making that card today? Double-sided prism refractor with a coating. Like, that would cost so much money today compared to what they pay for cards to be printed. They would never do it. They won't do it. I mean, look at the recent metal champion set where they took the cut above insert and made it the biggest piece of crap looking insert ever. The cut above insert's one of the coolest looking inserts ever, and they just cut out around the letters from a cut above. Like, no creativity in that set. I think that set's the biggest cash grab I've seen in a long time. It has PMGs of Jordan in it and Tiger Woods, and it has the platinum portraits, and everything else in that set is just terrible design. I was laughing because they've got the one insert. I got it right here. Yeah, so they've got this one insert because I opened one blaster, and it is the blast furnace. So here's their version of blast furnace. And so if you look at blast furnace back when it was a baseball insert, it was acetate, and it looked really cool. If you look at what it was in metal X-Men, it had fire, like sparks coming off the card. It was thicker. It had like foil, all stuff. And this is just a flat foil card. And if you Google fire emoji, you'll see this exact image they use for this card in a Google emoji search. They just Googled fire emoji and put it on the back of a card. That's how much creativity Upper Deck used to create this set. And they had other designs they've already used they could have just stole from that were much better. But, because they didn't want to put any effort or money into what this card cost, they just Googled fire and threw that on there. I mean, just look at the Intimidation Nation cards from that set. Look at that thing. Like that, if you look at the original photos, the players are supposed to look kind of mean. I mean, he looks like he just took a number 2. That does not look mean to me. And look at some of the photos they use. It's just such a terrible set. I mean, that's such a mailed-in set. I'm hoping people are mad. That thing was supposed to be $1,300 a box when it came out. Dave and Adams is down to like $600 or $700. It's almost cut in half already because the quality of those cards are just terrible. Without you have to hit a PMG or a platinum portrait to get anywhere close to any of that money back, because the rest of that set is pretty much trash. So if you guys like that, again, I'm going to be running another live, this Friday, where I'll be giving away the other cards. So I haven't looked at my email yet. So whatever card or collectible that wasn't chosen, it will be that one will be given away. So, and then when that's done, I'll do another one because I've got so many cards, and I'll probably do something vintage next time. Just because I've got some cool vintage cards that I've got doubles of, and hey, hey, Archimist, thank you. I appreciate anyone on the live. I'm really happy. Again, I want to talk about Sports Card Dad shouting me out. Ziggy's shouting me out a lot. I really appreciate people shouting me out on their channels because it's really helping my channel grow, getting some eyeballs on my content, and I appreciate all the positive feedback. Because if you go through my channel, you'll see where I've had some, I've not been, an overnight success on YouTube. I've had a few, I've been on it for 2 years, 350 plus videos, and I still, I'm just getting close to 700 subscribers. Not complaining that, it's because it's my content, I got to do better. So I'm trying, and I'm doing more live streams, and I think, I'm actually getting more of the hang of it. And I've said in previous, live streams, so I was very uncomfortable with showing my face on camera for a long time. I didn't want to do it. I really didn't like it. I didn't like what I looked like. I just didn't like it. And I've gotten over that fear a little bit. And now I feel like I'm in a better spot where I don't mind it. And I do like just talking to people, man. And I like just talking about cards because, I'm not here to pump Griffey cards. I'm a collector. Like all these cards are going into either a collection or I'm going to trade in for other cards. But Dwayne, like we talk a lot about cards. Like he's on Instagram with me. If you see, I have an Instagram. I post cards daily on my Instagram usually. I'll be posting some of these cards now on Instagram that I've showed them off. And if you're interested in a card, hit me up. I might trade it. I might not. But or I moisturize. I wish I did. I probably should. Um, you know, um, but yeah, like, if hit me up on Instagram, I'll talk to you if you have questions. Dwayne, he's been awesome. He's reached out. Yeah, New York Yanks fan. I've said it a lot. I'm very envious of his collection because he's been so consistent in what he collects. I look at what I collect sometimes and I'm like, why did I buy that? Like what am I doing buying prospect cards? What am I doing buying some of the stuff I buy? Because I do get caught up in hype like everyone else. I do make bad choices on what I buy, because I sometimes want to be cool. You know, I want to like, oh, and so I will say this: I've not bought any soccer F1 cards. I've not gone down that path of soccer and F1. I'm not saying anyone who does is bad. I'm just saying I have to draw the line somewhere in my collection. I can't just collect everything. So I did not go down those paths. If you love those cards, great. But I just have never gotten to that level because I just can't collect any more stuff. I just have to focus. And I did talk about I am selling a few cards to focus on my Willie Mays and Hank Aaron collection, um, because I feel like that's a window closing for me as a collector with the price of things. If I don't buy some of those cards now, I may never get a chance because if we get another doubling or tripling, of that, um, I just I never would. I don't think I'm going to get a shot on some of those cards in the future. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I know, Dwayne, we talked about Griffey cards. Some of these Griffey cards may get so expensive you're not going to afford them in 2 or 3 years. So you maybe that window's closing. As a collector, that can really hurt you because I've talked about this a lot on my channel. Is that the most horrible thing for a collector is this? I have a set I've been working on for 10 years, and the pricing gets so much I can't finish it. So now I have to sell it, or I have to finish it with cards in a grade that I don't like, or it makes me not like the set anymore because they don't look good together. They don't have a common look to the cards. I mean, we're we're OCD guys. I mean, come on, we do this. Like we don't like to, like if I have a PSA 8 set, then all of a sudden I have to fill it in with a bunch of PSA 6s. I'm probably not going to be as happy as a collector. So maybe I just decide to sell that. And I am afraid it's going to happen with Willie Mays and Hank Aaron cards. I'm not going to be able to get the 50s cards. I am worried about that. Hey, DC Irish. Yeah, Natalie Sanders is amazing, man. Like, um, one of my dirty hobby secrets is I love comic book variant covers. I just do. I get into them. You know, I love Sanders. I love Shannon Mayer. I love Jenny Frison, Adam Hughes. I'm not big into Campbell anymore. Old Campbell, great. I don't like Campbell's new stuff for the most part. Sometimes the stuff hits me, but he just reuses the same faces so often. I've gotten kind of just turned off. But I mean, you know, like I know I just did a comic book video, but like, you know, I like Spider Ham. So this cover, you know, I just think it's cool. You know, Spider going in Spider Ham and a Miles Morales Spider Ham. Just things like that are fun to me. It makes collecting comic books more fun, and so I collect a lot of variant covers. And if you go on anyone's YouTube channel, I'll tell you variant covers are the devil. It's what's killing comic book hobby. And I'm an evil collector that loves variant comic book covers. So I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry because that's what I like. And but I collect a lot of other stuff too in comics. I collect Alex Schomburg books. So, you know, I collect Spider-Man books too. So I know not a lot of folks, you know, I don't have a huge following in the comic book side of the universe, because um, honestly, um, hey Ziggy, as far as comic books go, so the theory is this: is that comic book variant covers make, just like with parallels and sports cards, it increases print runs. It makes it where basically no one cares what's in the comic book; they just care what's on the outside of the comic book, and it's like you don't know how much are printed. You know, like there's this idea that 1 in 25 doesn't mean that there was been if there was 1,000 books printed, that 1/4 of them, or you divide 1,000 by 25, there's only 40 or of those books. It doesn't work that way at the printer, because every book has a minimum print run. So there's a lot of issues around how rare are these variant comics. Hey, Butts My PC. Awesome. Hey, good luck on poker, man. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. So yeah, the variant, and then so what happens is, like, the guys who collect comic books, who, like, let's say, I don't want to say they gatekeep a little bit, but they blame variant covers for why you know the content of the book isn't good anymore, because people just care about the covers, and it's all about the cover artist and all that stuff. So some of that might be true, but I would just say that I love some artists out there. My favorite comic book that's come out in a long time is the Jenny Frison Death cover. I don't have my copy, is kind of over in kind of my good comic book side of the modern stuff. So I don't have it right in front of me to pull, but just Google it if you want to look at a beautiful cover. She nailed it. I talked to her on Instagram about it. She's she's really friendly. I will say that. Um, and it was just like, I was just blown away by the cover. And I'm like, you should always do death covers because you've nailed it. That's probably, I know I'm gushing about it because it's like, when I look at, like, if I was going to make the perfect death cover, the cover, for the character death, she drew it. Like, that's like, in my head, that's how I would have envisioned that cover to come out. And she nailed it. Like, she took what was in my head and put it on a cover. And as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I would like. If I was going to commission a cover, that's how it would have came out. So it's really cool that it did that way. Yeah, comic book, as far as grading comic books, so yeah, on and like that, Negan. So I've said to other people about grading comic books, the best way to grade comic books is this, is because there's dealers out there who specialize in this. The first thing you want to do is find a dealer who presses comic books for you and pre-grades them for you. Because if you're truly serious about getting good grades about comic books, if you find a dealer who can press and submit for you and just pay that little extra to have them do it and pre-grade it for you, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and aggravation than doing it yourself. If you're just going to grade a few books every year, I only grade probably 20 or 30 comic books a year. max. And so I just go through a friend of mine who, does that pressing and grading for me, versus me sitting in myself, because they know a lot more about what to look for, can tell me like this book isn't worth grading. Now, as far as Black Panther, I'd say, it's a Silver Age book. It goes all the way into Bronze Age. Honestly, there's a few, the first book in that series and a few other books are probably worth getting graded, but the Black Panther series isn't where the first appearance is. So that book isn't what I would consider to be super valuable or rare. Again, they'd have to be high grade for me to really grade those books outside of the first copy. In all honesty, modern Black Panther books are a little bit more valuable because Shuri is going to be the new Black Panther according to what it looks like in the previews. And her first appearance is in modern. So like, if you want the new Black Panther, you're going to have to get the modern book. The modern Black Panther books is where she appears, and that's her first appearance. So I feel like that kind of also neuters those old books. Like, I understand, I mean, it was a tragedy they lost the actual actor. Um, but they've also like taken away like any of those Fantastic Four and early Black Panther books are going to be worth, I think, a little bit less, because the new character, if it's going to be Shuri, is from modern era, and those books will go up, but it won't really have an impact on those Fantastic Four books. Fantastic Four is getting a huge revival in comic books. I mean, a ton of Fantastic Fours are keys, and you see people are trying to collect their Fantastic Four sets now because they're going to appear in the DC, the Marvel universe. So, Fantastic Four, if you got old books, they're worth grading. Like, if you find an old collection of Fantastic Fours, there's probably something in there that's worth grading, because there's so many good appearances in Fantastic Four in those first like 100 issues or so. So, um, but yeah, like, DC, yeah, like, collect what you love. Like, again, Flipping Steve is right, man. Like, don't let people tell you how to collect. Like, I've had I definitely, again, I talked about my Griffey collection. I was very nervous about talking about Griffey because, on the old blowout forums, there's Magic Papa. I mean, he's like an OG Griffey collector, and he's got like the red Crusade Griffey. He's got like the I want to say the mirror gold, like just stuff that is insane. And I'm like, well, okay, well, he's obviously the Griffey King guy, and I'm not even sure he still has those cards. It's just like that's his photo. If you ever see Blowout Forums, Magic Papa, there's a photo he's got of a case of Griffey cards, and if you look through every card in that case, you're like $1 million. like it's $1 million in that case. That is an insane case of cards. And like that's kind of how I was thinking about. Like, if I don't have those level of cards, like like I'm just like a Griffey guy. Like, I'm a minor league Griffey guy, and now I'm like more into it, because it's just fun to collect the cards. Again, like, a card like this hard hat. I mean, I just got graded. It was sitting in my collection raw for years, and to me, getting it graded now, you know, I might be able to can trade it, or I can keep it, but it makes me feel like I'm getting more and more cool Griffey cards, and I am not a grade snob on my Griffey collection. You'll see. I mean, my refractor, for example, I talked about when I got the 93 finest refractor, it's right here. I wasn't looking for a 10. I got a one I could afford. I got a BGS 8.5. Had a few folks tell me I should try to get it crossover to PSA. I mean, it's going to PSA 8. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. I'm not sure it's worth it. I mean, I'm not sure it's worth damaging the card just to get it into a PSA holder, but I feel like that is something that I could do if I wanted to. New York City was packed. And I do feel like, I kind of laughed about, I messaged Neo. I said, like, I live in New York. I don't even want to go to the New York City show just because of the crowds and just how crazy it is right now. It's a lot of people. I saw Justin's video showing off his PMGs. Very cool. But sports cards compared to, you know, comic books as far as flipping. So here's the thing. I set up at comic book conventions, usually in Saratoga. And there's one coming up in November. I'm going to try to set up as a deal. I've set up at Saratoga 4 times. Every time I do really well. And it's my variant books that sell a lot. I carry tons of variant comic books. They do well. Not everyone brings those kind of books. I bring variant covers, first appearances, and CGC graded and Golden Age. And that breadth of comic books, I have modern variants. I've got Golden Age books. I've got key first appearances, and then I've got a run of like cool $5 and $10 comic books, and I do really well, and I just feel like I've hit on a comic book formula that works for me to be able to both collect and make money as a dealer in comic books. But flipping comic books is a little bit of a weirdness. It's like the book comes out, it's the highest price it's going to be for a long time. It drops in value. And then 3 years later, it could be 5 times what it was at the lowest point because that book might have a first appearance or that artwork is just really rare to find. It's just like things can happen. I mentioned I'm a Danny Moonstar collector. Like there is a book series called Fearless Defenders. Okay. And I believe it's either issue 3 or 4. There's a Danny Moonstar cover. And I've seen one copy of that book sell ever. Okay. And it sold for like $1,600. And if I had that book at a card show or a comic book show, maybe 5 people would know that book is super rare. And that happens in comic books. There's these super rare variants that unless you are just really into the variant game, you don't know what that book is. And it happens a lot. And it creates some situations where you can find rare variants just at a comic book show, just sitting out there at a good price. Because some of these variants, there's so many of them, it's hard to keep up with them. So that it does have, that's why I feel like I do make some money flipping by being able to say, yeah, I know that book is somewhat rare. I know the cover artist is popular, but it's just like in baseball cards and football cards, you can speculate on a slam dunk. Here's an amazing Spider-Man book coming out by a hot artist, Peach Momoko, Spider-Man or Spider-Gwen. The book comes out, the cover looks kind of crappy. It never does anything. And you pre-order it for $50. Now it's worth $10. That happens a ton in variant comic book collecting. A ton. So, it's not like, the Rudy show in Magic the Gathering where you just buy every box of Magic cards and they always go up, which is done now too. That's not how that market works anymore. But for a long period of time that happened in Magic, there was this idea in variant comics. Yeah, you just go out and buy the really rare comic books of the really hot artists and they always go up in value. That doesn't happen anymore. And so all markets are correcting. All markets are correcting no matter what it is. People are smart. They want to spend the money on things that are either rarer and still high quality. And we're going to see that more and more often. We're seeing it right now in sports cards. I don't know in your areas for people still on, man. Like retail, I see it. Retail is back with a vengeance, and I don't see it moving. The sets that suck are sitting on the shelf. I mean, there's so much upper deck hockey on the shelf right now in my area that I don't think a wheelbarrow could hold all of the blasters of hockey that are sitting on the shelf. And it's not because hockey isn't a popular sport or that people don't love young guns. It's just it's overprinted. There's too much of it. You can only buy so much of it, and it's boring. Anyone who opens up Upper Deck, I open a ton of it on ePack. You get virtually, I think, in a box of Upper Deck hockey, you get 5 young guns and generally nothing else. So 5 packs out of 24 have something in it. It's just boring. And and even retail is even worse. So can you imagine, like I spend, whatever a blaster of hockey is, $30, $34 right now. Buy 6 blasters for $180, you get maybe 20 young guns. And most of them are $2 or $3. you know, I mean, it's just not fun. And I think you're seeing that now. People just aren't having fun with that kind of value, or just how boring the cards are. And let's face it, like those cards are kind of ugly. There isn't a lot of wow factor to those cards. When you see them, it's not like, no one opens up a pack of Upper Deck Hockey and gets a young gun and go, well, that card is awesomely designed. They're designed to be kind of basic looking to begin with, and they kind of have a heritage design with it anyway. It's just not very fun. But yeah, retail is everywhere. I feel like everything is, coming back to reason. I mentioned early on in this live that the hobby's getting back to normal. Like, normal means this. Normal means this, that a player has to do something on the field to increase its value. A comic book has to have something about it to make it worthwhile. It has to have a first appearance, a good cover artist, and it has to be a limited print run that not everyone ordered into the moon. Magic the Gathering has to have print runs that make sense. Like, everything has to make sense. There has to be a reason for something to go up in value. It's not just because it was printed. It exists. They made it. And I think that is, even on vintage cards, I've talked about how vintage, I do the videos on 50s Hall of Fame rookie cards, 60 Hall of Fame rookie cards. The ones that are, printed very, with higher pop counts are going down. Low pop count rookie cards are holding steady to some extent, but Willie Mays rookie card just went down the most of any 50s Hall of Fame rookie card, right? Willie Mays. It went up tremendously and it's come back down tremendously. There's going to be a point when it levels off, right? But it just meant that if you bought in at the highest point, you're stuck, and that's going to happen, and so you got to write it out, because if let's say that happened to me, if I bought the Willie Mays card when it was $200,000 and now it's worth 160, you got to hold it. I mean, if you can, you got to hold it, because that card will eventually go back to, it may take 20 years or 10 years. I don't know what it's going to take, but that's a card that should go up in value slowly over time. $2,000 or $3,000, $5,000 every year, right? So eventually it's going to gain you that money back, but it's not going to happen overnight. I don't know if we're going to see a quadrupling of prices in the next 20 or 30 years. It can never happen again. Or the market gets super hot again because of another issue like a pandemic. No one knows. But if you're going to hedge on vintage, hedge on Hall of Fame rookie cards, hedge on limited stuff, 90s cards that are numbered 100, for example. Dwayne knows this. Any Griffey card from the 90s in a Mary uniform numbered 100 or less has gone up tremendously in value. And they're not going down. They may go down a little bit, but they're not halving or crumbling in price. And they're going to get more rare, go up in value. So it's just things like that are things that I'd say, like, if you're going to invest, and I'm not an investment broker, I'm not an investment guy. If you're going to, put money into the market and you don't want any risk, that's the kind of stuff you got to look at buying. If you want to buy Wander Franco's and the next, and Justin Herbert cards, you're going to make tremendous amount of money some days and you're going to lose tremendous amount of money some days. That's high risk, and some people love that, if that's your thing, if you love betting, then that's great. For me, again, that's why you see me selling some stuff. I want to invest in my Griffey collection and my Hank Aaron collection. I want to build a nest egg and be able to buy that 68 3D Clemente I keep talking about, that I keep talking about I'll never get. So, if I ever got the 68 3D Clemente, like, I have to sell probably my entire everything else to afford it. But like, that would be like my, we say the Grail card too much, but I would cry. I would probably cry if I got that card, because and I have a huge history of that card. Like, I've tried it multiple times and always come up short. But that's the only card that would like move me to tears, is like if I got that card, because as a Clemente collector, That's by far the alpha and omega card. The rookie card is great. 68 3D is the card. It's the card. It's the T206 Wagner. It's the alpha and omega of mini collectors. And if you have one, you're in this cool crowd. I know, like, if you go on not Blow, but if you go into, like, there's a lot of forums around comic book collecting where they'll say, like, show off your X-Men, one, show off your Hulk 181, club, the Hulk 181 club, and everyone shows their Hulk 181. If they said, show off your 68 3D Clemente, there'd be like 5 dudes, 10 dudes showing off their card. Like, here's my, because it's just not out there, and that's kind of the card. But, would I sell my entire collection of cards other than other Clemente cards to buy it? I mean, if I was guaranteed that I would get the card, yes. But this is the reality. I could sell my entire collection, except for my Clemente cards, to go buy that card, and another person's going to come in and offer more money. It's happened to me multiple times, and that's why I don't feel I'm ever going to get it, because if it's going to be in an auction, and no matter how much money I'm going to bid on that card, someone's going to outbid me. That's that card. Someone wants it more than me. Someone just has more resources. Like, I'd have to be like some sort of like multimillionaire to be able to afford that card, because that's the people who buy it. And that's why I'm saying, like, I could sell my entire collection, every Schomburg, every Maze, build up a huge nest egg, go after that card, and some guy's going to be like, well, I'll give you 10,000 more. I'm like, okay, I don't have anything else to sell, so I'm done. That's sort of how I feel about, until, like, I've given up on the dream. I don't obsess about it as much as I used to. But I used to obsess about that card. I mean, as a collector of Clemente, yeah, it's the one card you have to get. My other Grail card for Clemente is a 61 Topps autograph, because I put together 61 Topps set. I'm also putting together 61 autograph set of the Pirates, and so because they won the World Series in 60, and so in 61 you got the World Series cards and all the stats. And so I've got multiple sets of 61 Pirates, including a graded set. And I'm putting together an autograph set. And, I've seen that card sell one time. And it sold for like $600. And I missed the auction. I didn't see it. Never seen it again. I've talked to dealers about it, like, how many of them do you think are? And I've looked at pop count. So that's probably never going to happen either. I mean, it could, but I don't feel like it's going to happen. I mean, there was one that was on Blowout. A guy had a raw card that was not graded yet, and he wanted $5,000 for it. It wasn't graded, and I did submit a picture to PSA of the card, and they said likely not authentic. So I didn't go forward with it. But that was 5 years ago or 6 years ago for $5,000. I couldn't afford it anyway, but I just want to know, was the autograph real? And PSA, they have that thing where you can submit, an opinion. So hey guys, so I'm going to end it. I've got depositions tomorrow. I don't know if people know what I do for a living, but I do both legal work ish. I'm not a lawyer, but I do things in the regulatory legal area a little bit. So I got depositions tomorrow. I'm a scientist as well, so you probably guess what I talk about in depositions. So I got to get some sleep. I love you guys. I really love you guys coming on with me. Again, I'll do another giveaway for the other thing, the other item that wasn't taken on Friday. I'll come up with something fun. And hopefully we can get it in one shot in the live stream. So I love it, guys. See you guys next time. And, I really do appreciate it. And I love the fact that, people are coming on and talking to me. So it's great. And I'll see you guys next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.